Welcome, everybody. John Zager. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Nice and chilly here on the eastern slope of Colorado this morning. I think it got down to 40 last night. It's supposed to get even colder tonight. The high today is supposed to be 54. It's really chilly out. We're kind of used to those high 80s and low 90s, but the weather's changing and fall is here, and good. Fall's a good time of the year. It's kind of my favorite time anyway. I don't know what the temperature is right now. I'm actually still in the house, so I haven't really. I've been out, but I'm not near. Well, I guess I could turn around and see what it is, couldn't I? It says it's not even 40 degrees. It looks like 36 outside. Huh. Yeah, so it's chilly. But overcast. Looks like it could rain, but I doubt it will rain. I think it's just going to stay cold. Hope everybody's having a good day. Friday. Yay, Friday. I want to talk today a little bit about personalities. And I'm not going to go into each personality disorder. That's kind of not what I'm wanting to do today. I'm just wanting to talk about personalities in general today and how people respond to different situations based on their personality. And we're not talking about normal personalities, obviously. We're talking about personalities that are abnormal, that have some characteristics and traits that differentiate how they respond to things as opposed to mentally healthy people out there. So yesterday I ran into a couple situations, and that's what brought this up as a podcast. I have a friend who has some traits. Okay, this isn't a judgment thing. It's just person that I know that has some traits, some different traits, probably different than maybe you and I. One of the traits is hoarding, right? So with that comes, sort of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder type stuff, and has never been treated, to the best of my knowledge. And so that's going to impact that person's ability to make decisions as possibly you and I might. He feels like he's shopping when he's in dumpsters, and that the junk that they find is of value and can be made to new value, although nothing's ever done to do that. So in other words, the junk just goes, sits in the house, and accumulates and becomes a comfort, so to speak, for that individual. Acquiring things of no value actually become value to a hoarder. The other trait this individual happens to have, it's just a trait, everybody's got different things. But the other trait is enabling. Now think about it. Enabling is going to fit right in with hoarding, because enabling is trying to rescue something that is broken. A person, another person that is broken, so to speak, right? And that's enabling. There's a negative to enabling from the psychological standpoint, and it's just real clear. Excuse me. It's just real clear that the broken person, so to speak, right, never has the ability or the chance or the opportunity to get well and figure stuff out on their own, make decisions, make mistakes, eventually get it right, learn and grow, mature, and become healthier, right? So the person that's enabling the quote-unquote broken person is doing a disservice, and it's actually extremely harmful and dangerous. The broken person will eventually depend on the enabler to come to his or her rescue in times of need, and will even set up situations so that that person will rescue him. The dangers of that is if they become suicidal, obviously, and then all of a sudden the enabler's not there at the right time, and the broken person actually does succeed with the suicide. The other side of the coin is that the broken person, right, also usually has other traits, and one of those traits that goes along with that would be, borderline personality, antisocial personality, things of that nature, to where it becomes a game, and the person that they look to enable them, right, is either on a pedestal or is just downgraded and treated with such disrespect, that kind of thing. It's an all or none sort of view. And they manipulate through, an example might be, life isn't worth it anymore if you don't help me. Well, maybe I'll just whatever. So the broken person has some traits that are out there seeking an enabler. And the enabler is out there seeking the broken person. Now, there's all kinds of dynamics. I mean, I just gave you one very minute, tiny example. We could go through hours of different personalities on both sides where they accommodate each other, okay? All right, so you understand that. So what happened yesterday, I'm going to kind of tell you a brief story, and this has to do with personalities, just to give you an example. Sometimes what happens is the enabler has been able to rationalize their behavior, trying to fix the broken person. And where they get, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for, where they get sucked in at on the deal is sometimes, not always, but sometimes, through religion, right? Religion, says that, I'm supposed to help my fellow man, and be there and available for that person, right? Well, that sounds good, but it's not realistic. And it's actually a rationale that creates more damage to both people, because the enabler's doing everything for the wrong reason, and the broken person is just, right there loving that kind of rationalization. It works for me. It keeps this person constantly doing things and giving me things and accommodating my wants and needs that are irrational. So it becomes really bad. And then when I happened to be in the middle of a conversation yesterday with this going on and tried to explain, without preaching, I tried to explain that, it's best for we're calling this person the broken person only for the sake of, terms and conversation that we might both understand. But I said, maybe it might be best for that individual to learn and experience things on their own. Make some wrong decisions, make some good decisions, learn, grow, become healthier, and possibly, seek treatment so that their disorder doesn't create a lifelong sort of problem. But the enabler that I was talking to doesn't want to see it that way. They're black and white. Now remember, this is obsessive compulsive kind of person, and they're black and white. It's this way or no way. And I've rationalized it through my religious beliefs, that person's religious beliefs. So what does what I just went through, the scenario, the story, the occurrence, the event that transpired yesterday between these two people, what does that have to do with neuroscience and self-healing? And here's the connection. If a person has psychological traits that are not in their best interest, right? So both of these people, the broken person, right, who's seeking an enabler through manipulation, and the enabler seeking a broken person for their own selfish reasons, both cause their immune system to become weakened. Okay? What they're doing is they're not strengthening their emotional health. Right? Everybody can kind of see that on both sides. Neither party is doing or are doing things that can really strengthen their emotional health. In turn, if they're having questions about that sort of behavior, right, it's not doing very much, it's not doing good health to them in their physical abilities and their physical bodies. They become weaker from a physical standpoint. Okay? So they become susceptible because they're always needing from the other person as opposed to sustaining a healthy life within and from themselves. Does that make sense? So when you're constantly dependent on the other person through unhealthy means to take care of your needs, that's causing your physical health and emotional health to go downhill. It's another way of saying you're going to attract disease. You're going to attract sickness, ill health, diagnosis, trauma, There's all kinds of things. These are probably not people that are in high positions of authority or business, right? Because they're having a difficult time meeting their own personal needs. So how are they going to meet the needs of a company or a business that they might be running? Okay. The other part that does come into play here is the third part, right? We have emotional, physical, and the third part is always spiritual, right? And people sometimes get their spiritual or their religious beliefs confused with or intertwined with their misunderstanding of their personality and the personality of the other person, and therefore they start bringing religion into play, and they're using that as a leverage to manipulate. As in yesterday's case, the enabler in the case yesterday, rationalized that according to my spiritual and religious beliefs, I'm supposed to do this, and therefore it's all good. And on the other side, the broken person who has little to no religious or spiritual belief started accusing the enabler of not using his spiritual and religious beliefs to help him, the broken person. So, long story short, both people become more vulnerable to sickness. Emotional sickness, physical sickness, right? They're both more prone to upregulating genes that are going to damage their emotional or physical health. So, neuroscience plays a role in personality disorders and how they interact with one another. So, a good thing to do, and I don't know, I guess I think this is pretty important, is to have an assessment. We all think we're healthy and well and fine and everything's good. Well, sometimes we happen to have traits that are suspect, but we may not admit to those suspect traits. Follow me? Okay? So having somebody, here's one way. If you've got a disease, a diagnosis, had a trauma, some sort of sickness, ill health, major surgery, or you're just not recovering from whatever was going on, let's say physically with you. Obviously, you attracted that through your thinking, right? That's what neuroscience says. You can also get rid of your disease through thinking, right? Through your thoughts. That's what neuroscience says. But again, you're not willing to do that because you're stuck in the role of ill health and having a disease and all the secondary gains that go along with it. These two people we were talking about yesterday are stuck in their roles. They don't want to be different than they are. Okay? The enabler wants to be an enabler because it satisfies the sick needs that individual has. The broken person, right, who's seeking the enabler through manipulation wants to be the broken person because they like manipulating people to get their needs met. And they don't want to change either. So until somebody comes up to you and says, are you sure about that behavior? Are you sure about that decision you're making right now? Are you clear with where that's coming from? Are you clear and do you understand the repercussions of that behavior, of keeping that personality, of having those traits? And good gosh, I mean, the optimum thing to have is that, go see a therapist or a counselor and get some sort of an evaluation done. But again, my experience in 43 plus years is that the people are sick want to be sick. All of my years doing clinical, very, very small percentage of people wanted to get well. In the last 10 years, where I'm doing more neuroscience research and evaluating, sick people, mostly physical, well, they're actually mental and physical. They want to be physically sick for all the wrong purposes, which is their emotional disorder and traits that need to be fixed. Follow me on all that, you guys? It's really important. If you're sick and you're sitting in a hospital right now, it may not completely be all physical. There's a good chance there could be some emotional things going on that are needing to be worked on. And if you're in denial about that, and it's just a physical sickness, and I can't make myself sick sort of attitude, the handwriting's on the wall. So I guess my challenge to everybody listening today is that maybe you would sit down and process who you are, your personality. We know that you might have some beliefs that are not working on your best behalf. And if you have any kind of denial going on around emotional things, it might be good to do some research, go investigate. There's all kinds of little tests and stuff that you can take on the internet for various reasons and for various personalities and disorders and that sort of thing. And, self-test yourself and see if some of those come out positive, that you have some things that are exacerbating, your ill health. Physical problems, can certainly come as a result of your emotional disarray and traits and just all of the illogical thinking that goes along with personality disorders. So I challenge you guys to go do some research, and if you have some questions, if you get some red flags that come up, be willing to go to a counselor or a therapist and have some sort of evaluation done. You're not sitting in a nursing home because you have a physical illness. If you're having an extended stay in a hospital and your physical illness should have been done and gone by now, then you need to look at emotional things that are going on inside of you. And then if you have to consider if you're in denial and if you're rationalizing, it's just all that much more information that says, emotionally you're having to struggle for traits that you can get rid of. Just as you can get rid of physical problems, diseases, you can also get rid of the emotional problems and diseases, so to speak. So anyway, that's a little bit on personalities. We probably need to go back and touch on that one a few more times, but I think it got us started, at least thinking about some of that stuff. So again, I hope you have a good weekend coming up. I'll try to get some podcasts in Saturday and Sunday both. We're looking for cooler weather for the next few days. That'll be nice. Fall is here. And God bless everybody. Take care of one another, and I look forward to talking to you all again real soon. Thanks a lot. See you. Bye.